Origin Chance, Home City Reacts, and this is I visited the most overpowered US Navy warship. But I don't know what you think. Here's another I visited type of video from Know What You Think. I'm guessing this is those littoral ships, right? That's what I'm judging from that description. Yeah, so he went to those littoral ship, one of those one. I don't know. The one that was like, I don't know, was it underutilized or something, right? There was like an issue with it. So I'm to, I don't know, aircraft carrier or something like that, because those are like big ass, something that can power even a city. That's how big and powerful they are. With engine being that powerful, that can generate that much electricity, and those are humongous, right? Something like Ford class and something like that. But yeah, this is going to be interesting as well, because he's saying this is the most overpowered Navy ship. So it's going to be interesting. Let's watch it. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe, so that way I know which type of videos to react to more. If you like, if you like this type of videos, check out the link in the description. There are other reactions like this, and yeah, let's watch it.
I went aboard the US Navy's fastest ship, which is also the largest jet ski in the world that has a naval gun. If you could see what I saw on the other side of this window, you would probably come to the same conclusion as I did. This is the most overpowered ship in the US Navy. I explored every inch of USS Marinette that I was allowed to see, from the engineering area, which I thought was the coolest, to the bridge, which was completely unique. And then there was the red light district. But why this ship is forbidden from hunting submarines and there is no way to change it? Why the doctor on USS Marinette is the same person who does the mooring lines when the ship is at port? How this class of ships can launch Tomahawk missiles even though it has no launcher built in? And why among all Freedom-class littoral combat ships, USS Marinette is the only Freedom done right is not what you think. On the other side of this window, there is something that used to fly. This giant Rolls-Royce MT-30 gas turbine is the naval variant of the jet engines installed on the Boeing 777. With over 50 million flying hours, you would think this engine has proven its reliability. But on the ship, the engine is housed inside a box, a steel
It's interesting that it has 777's engine, Rolls-Royce engine, which is a surprise, right? I don't think most people would know that Rolls-Royce makes jet engines as well. But yeah, they've been making since the World Wars, right? And they are owned by BMW now. BMW made the first engine, or the first jet engine was from BMWs. Let's just say it like that. So, obviously now the pair up with that, BMW, Rolls-Royce, yeah, their Rolls-Royce's jet production is going to be even better in a way. But yeah, it's surprising when you remember, like, wait a minute, Rolls-Royce also makes, because Rolls-Royce is like luxury brand known as, right? Like the most top of the line luxury brand is probably Rolls-Royce.
explosion-proof box. So if the engine blows up for any reason, the damage will be completely contained inside this box. The ship has not one, but two of these engines, each generating a whopping 48,000 horsepower. Even more interestingly, in contrast to almost all other types of ships, these engines don't drive propellers. They instead power water jets. USS Marinette has 4 water jets, which combined can pump 25,000 gallons of water per second.
I mean, engine like that, a lot of energy would be wasted on propellers, so it makes sense that water jets is the one thing that's powering.
Let me put that in relatable terms. Filling up an Olympic-sized swimming pool using the faucet in my house would take 305 days. These 4 water jets can do the job in 25 seconds. But aside from quickly filling up swimming pools, why use water jets instead of propellers? 2 of the 4 water jets on USS Marinette can also act as rudders, since they can be steered independently. This makes the ship highly maneuverable, just like a jet ski. Traditionally, ships have a helm for steering, but not this one. The spacious and modern bridge on the Marinette houses 4 controls that are used to adjust the power and direction of the water jets. This thrust vectoring capability allows the ship to perform tight pivoting and purely lateral motion, something that ships with rudders and propellers simply cannot do. In addition to
I mean, it just makes
maneuverability,
sense. I mean, why have propellers and rotors when you can do the job with the jets, basically? It feels more advanced. It's just better in a way. But I'm guessing the maintenance would be much higher.
the sheer power of the water jets can accelerate the ship quickly and also bring it to a quick stop. To do so, a cover pivots over the nozzles, which forces the water jet to go backwards. This is called a crash stop, which can stop a fast-moving ship in a little more than the length of its hull. Finally, having
Yeah, I think there was a Grand Tour episode where Clarkson made a boat for, well, I don't know, like $100,000 or something, pounds or something, where he explained that. Obviously, Clarkson would go out of the way to be too overpowered, right? Hammond bought some powerful, but some like Miami style, like a boat basically, right? May was like a weird, slow boat. But yeah, that was so awesome where the way he explained how those jets can basically break like that.
no propellers allows this class of ships to operate in waters as shallow as 15 feet, which was a requirement since these ships were designed for littoral waters. This is freedom done right. That's a motto of USS Marinette, the 13th ship in the Freedom class of littoral combat ships, also known as LCS. It's the only ship that bears the name of the city that it was built, christened, and commissioned in, Marinette, Wisconsin. This meant the ship had to travel through the St. Lawrence Seaway to get to its home port of Mayport, Florida. Freedom class is not the only type of ship powered by gas turbines. Arleigh destroyers are powered by General Electric LM2500 gas turbines. Of course, the Rolls-Royce MT-30 is a much more powerful engine, which is why Zumwalt destroyers and even Royal Navy's Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft
I like how they just plagued that Rolls-Royce. Like, there you go. We have Rolls-Royce here. It's like flexing in a way.
carriers are equipped with the same two jet engines that power USS Marinette. This is pretty insane, considering that Queen Elizabeth aircraft carriers have a displacement that is 19 times the 3,500
Yeah, I mean, that's insane. Using an engine that was made for like aircraft carriers. Using that into, yeah, it's going to be powerful.
3,500-ton Freedom-class littoral combat ship. USS Marinette is totally souped up. Which makes you wonder, why did the US Navy put so much power inside such a light hull? The answer was the need for speed. Freedom-class ships are the fastest in the US Navy fleet, moving at speeds in excess of 40 knots. This high-speed requirement was a key factor behind the decision to armor and arm these ships lightly, balancing lethality and survivability with speed. These ships can in fact move so fast that they have some heavy-duty wipers to clear the bridge windows from all the water splash. The top speed of the ship is of course classified, but we can speculate a bit by looking at the world's fastest passenger ferry in service, HCS Francisco. This ferry has two water jets powered by the less capable LM2500 gas turbines, the same ones used in Arleigh destroyers. The top speed of HCS Francisco is 58 knots. USS Marinette is a relatively small ship.
Hold up, that ferry hauls ass at like more than 60 miles per hour. That's fast, man, for that kind of a giant ferry boat, basically. If you see it in action, just like going past, that would be insane.
Small enough that they had to run an exhaust pipe through the wardroom, where the officers eat. When you put two massive jet engines inside a small hull, you get a lot of vibration, and the faster the ship moves, the more it vibrates. This made the Freedom-class ships as noisy as aircraft carriers, according to Admiral Gilday, former Chief of Naval Operations. This explains why I saw so many
So I'm guessing aircraft carriers are noisy. How noisy? I never even thought about it. Like I'm trying to imagine right now, like just living there, because these are ships that you live in for a long time. Like, how much noise? Do anybody worry about that? Like, you show a lot of people inside these metal boats, and if it's like rattling, constantly making noises, Won't that drive somebody crazy? I don't know. Or like over time it becomes white noise. I don't know.
Springs and shock absorbers in different parts of the ship. They were there to reduce vibration and noise. But what's the big deal with some vibration? You can just put tennis balls on the chair legs so the vibrations won't scratch the floor in the wardroom. Or put carabiners to tie down the chairs to the floor for extra protection during rapid acceleration and high sea states. The thing
Oh, love that. That is official thing they did. Tennis ball. Okay.
is, the biggest problem caused by vibrations had nothing to do with the ship itself, but what was below it. The Freedom-class littoral combat ships were envisioned as modular, configurable ships with three types of missions: surface warfare, mine countermeasures, and anti-submarine warfare. This is why there are two large reconfigurable spaces aft of the ship, called Recon 1 and Recon 2. So whatever warfare package was needed could be swapped in and out using a hatch in the ceiling that opens to the flight deck. The recon areas can also be used as a gym or storage space. Now, those of you who've been following the LCS drama would know that the US Navy eventually gave up on the modular concept and decided to assign a fixed mission to each ship. That was followed by a decision in 2022 to cancel the anti-submarine mission package from the Freedom-class ships altogether. Now that was in large part due to the vibrations.
There you go. At least they're like worried about that, right? Like people can't handle it. Let's just say any other less free of the country that is not much free, let's just say, wouldn't care about that, I'm guessing. But at least America's giving a shit about it. Our sailors might go crazy or some shit like that. But yeah, the whole issue about LCS, like about the modular package, that's where America is going, right? They want one thing to do most jobs, and it kind of makes sense in the modern world, like with the like precision material technology we have, where we can like really accurately make things. I mean, yeah, like F-35 things like that, make something that does all the job. But obviously, there's a fear of like, if you make something to do all job, you might come up with something like that's mediocre. That's the fear there. So far, that's not the case. F-35s are great, right? And like the decision to make every ship their own thing rather than like a modular, I think that makes sense, because in a way you still have modular thing because you can assign different packages to different ships. So you can manage like that. So it's technically modular. I don't know.
Sonars can detect small vibrations underwater and use this capability to hunt submarines. But in the case of the Freedom class, the vibrations generated by the ship's jet engines would deafen the sonar, making it impossible to detect small vibrations from submarines lurking nearby.
So not for the sailors.
With the anti-submarine package out of the picture, the US Navy had more LCS hulls than it needed. A decision was subsequently made to retire a number of Freedom-class ships. That said, there were also other issues that may have contributed to the early retirement of those ships, some of which were only 2 years old. The two jet engines are not the only propulsion source on this ship. There are also two Colt peel stick diesel engines on board, each about the size of a school bus.
Colt make engines now? I thought that it's a gun company or something. Okay.
They generate 19,000 horsepower, enough for the ship to reach a maximum speed of 12 knots. To reach speeds in excess of 40 knots, the power from the gas turbines and the diesel engines need to be combined with the help of a gearbox. The problem was that the gearbox kept breaking down. Without the gearbox engaged, the ship's top speed was limited to about 10 knots generated by the diesel engines. And in 2021, it turned out to be a class-wide defect among Freedom-class ships.
See, this is the type of places where engineering come into play. Like you need to have really good engineering, and that will go to the gearbox. So I'm guessing either engineering failed, which I don't think would be the case. They wouldn't have built it in the first place if it failed. But I think it was like a tricky, so chances of failure was higher, like some malfunction or something. I guess that's what happened here.
The Navy and the ship manufacturer, Lockheed Martin, split the $8 to $10 million cost of fixing the combining gear 50-50. Since then, at least 7 Freedom-class ships have implemented the gearbox fix, which means they currently have no speed restrictions. That includes hull number 25, USS Marinette. Marinette is equipped with the Surface Warfare package. In this capacity, the ship provides fleet protection from small boats and other asymmetrical threats. The 24 Hellfire precision strike missiles on the ship are specifically used for surface warfare. Now there's also this bad boy, the Mark 110 57mm naval gun. Now this was my first time actually close up with this weapon system, and I gotta say, the gun is much bigger than it seems in the video. I asked Adam, who was giving us a tour, if the gun could hit a target accurately on the other side, where those buildings were. He kinda chuckled. I later found out that a gun has a range of 10 miles. It's also fully automatic and can fire 220 rounds per minute. So the ship can easily conduct interdiction missions against pirates and...
I think he asked question about like a civilian house basically in America. Like, can this thing hit that? Like, I mean, how is he gonna answer that one? Like, yeah, we could destroy those buildings. Like, why am I answering this? Like, okay, I can tell you the range, but I shouldn't answer. Like, that's why I think he chuckled there.
Other threats. In case you're wondering, this black cap prevents things like water from getting inside and damaging the gun. They would normally remove the cap before using the gun, but I was told if needed, they could fire right through it. There's also a C-RAM on this ship, which is the primary air defense capability against incoming anti-ship missiles. In the stern of the ship is what I like to call the red light district, but its actual name is Waterboard Mission Zone. This is where boats can be launched and recovered from the ship. Typically, the ship stores 2 11-meter ribs in this area. When needed, the stern doors open to let out the rib with a law enforcement team on board. This is not to be confused with a well deck, where the stern of the ship dips into the water.
Okay, I'm gonna guess it's red because when the door opens, if it's anything besides red, like light can travel long distance, somebody can see it. Red has a like less travel distance, I'm guessing, right? So that's why it's red, right? It has less intensity, let's just say. So I'm guessing that's why it would be red. I don't know.
Said this cradle here can be lowered into and raised out of water, which is how the ribs can be launched and recovered from the ship. The third and final mission package for the Freedom class was mine countermeasures, which intended to keep the personnel out of minefields. To do this, the ship would launch an unmanned surface vessel or USV from the red light district. The USV would then go to the area of interest to launch a sonar, which would in turn scan the field, detect and classify any mines in the area. The operators would access all the data in real time from the safety of the ship. In addition, Freedom ships can house MH-60 Seahawk helicopters as well as Fire Scout drones. Among other things, the helos can launch mine countermeasure systems, and the Fire Scouts could be equipped with sensors to give the ship a better picture of the horizon, kind of like a remote sensor.
Alright, this is manless, like auto helicopter or something? I don't see. Yeah, I'm guessing this is the auto one.
Before I share my final thoughts with you on the future of the Freedom class, there is something I need to highlight about the crew of USS Marinette. There are 80 sailors aboard this ship, 13 of which are female, including the commanding officer. What needs emphasizing is that a crew of 80 is considered small for a hull this size. For example, a destroyer or cruiser would require something like 8 people to run the bridge. But on this ship, you could have as few as 2 people handling the duties on the bridge, and that would be the officer of the deck and the junior officer of the deck.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I've heard about the numbers, right? Like in the World Wars or something, right? In World Wars, when major ships got damaged and sank, like thousands of people died because that's how many people were in the ship. So from there, you can really scale like how much is like required for boat. So yeah, these numbers seem small for this.
Of course, having 2 people means that they'll be doing more stuff. like announcements, radar, and navigation, which is not typically performed by the junior officer of the deck. I also had a chance to visit the small hospital on the ship and speak with one of the corpsmen. He said that aside from his typical hospital duties, he also helps with line duties when the ship is at port. Even smaller things like rinsing your own dishes after finishing your meal highlight how on this ship, everyone needs to do a little more and wear multiple hats. But let's get real for a moment. LCS ships have a bad reputation. There are even videos on this channel criticizing this class. What's easy to lose sight of is that anytime a brand new concept is designed and built, there'll be major problems. For the Freedom class, the gearbox issue...
I mean, I've watched video from this channel about LCS. Criticizing is the only thing you can kind of say about it. Because I don't think he said anything bad about it. Just like he just pointed out what was the issue or something.
Have been resolved. The ships are now equipped with surface warfare package. The maintenance costs are also coming under control, as the ship's crew have been taking over more and more of the maintenance tasks from expensive contractors. But there is still one more sticking point, and that's how these ships are lightly armored. We went over the armament, and if you remember, these ships don't have built-in VLS cells like destroyers and cruisers do. That said, the flight deck on the Freedom class is actually bigger than that of the Arleigh destroyers and Ticonderoga cruisers. And here is why that's important. This 40-foot-long container is the Mark 70 payload delivery system, which houses 4 Mark 41 VLS cells. It can launch long-range anti-ship missiles, anti-air weapons such as SM-6, and even Tomahawk land attack missiles. According to Lockheed Martin, up to 3 such containers can be placed on the flight deck of Freedom-class ships, in a process that takes about 7 hours to complete. In fact,
yeah, I think we've seen that in other videos as well, where they just like put this, like modular weapons on the deck, and there you go. You have like new weapon system now.
In October 2023, an SM-6 missile was successfully test launched from a container launcher off the flight deck of USS Savannah. So maybe the Navy could use the Freedom class for low-intensity situations, which could free up destroyers for high-intensity missions. While 2 more Freedom class ships are still being built, it's unclear how many ships of this class are actually going to be retired. Back in 2022, it was suggested that the Navy would keep 6 Freedom class hulls for surface warfare and retire the rest. Some in the US Congress suggest selling them to allied countries instead, while others say to accept these ships for what they are. And after visiting USS Marinette in person, talking to the crew, getting more perspective on what caused the issues and how they were addressed, I think I'm more inclined to join the last camp.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Just as just keep it, right? I mean, there's many plus points with the speed and everything. It's like, and if you keep it, you can like improve it over time. Like retiring it feels like, okay, we did the bad job, like just like scrap it. I don't think that's going anywhere. You shouldn't do that. But yeah, this was, I don't know. I think they should keep it. That's what America is good at, improving over time. So far it looks awesome. I don't know. Like it can work, and like with the portfolio of things US Navy has, this can fit in, right, with the right scenario. Especially if they have to go against something like China for the Taiwan war, if it happens, something like this would be really important. But yeah, something like Marines. I think Marines can use that. I don't know. It's for the Navy, but I think Marines can make a use of this, if nothing else. But yeah. Alright, well, I visited the most overpowered US Navy warship. But I don't know what you think. If you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you next time.